$70 for Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia on pay-per-view on DAZN. And it's looking like a ripoff as the undercard comes out for the fight. And the undercard, which we waited a long time to hear about, after a lot of people had opportunities to buy tickets and plane tickets without the tickets to the fight and plane tickets without knowing what this undercard was going to be. Looking kind of shabby. Let's talk about that in this video. Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia will be fighting on April 20th in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. The fight is a fight that I think is going to be an entertaining fight. I'm looking forward to the fight. I don't have any delusions about what is going to happen in this fight. I am almost completely convinced that Devin Haney will just outbox Ryan Garcia in a fight in which there's not a lot of action. If Devin Haney can keep it that way, because a lot of action, any real type of back and forth with Devin and Ryan could be real problems for Devin Haney, because Ryan Garcia is a very, very big puncher, especially with his left hand. He's got a good right hand too. He's got good hand speed. So I fully expect Devin Haney to come into that ring and pour water on the fight. Pivot out whenever he can, right? Try to let lead jab, slip underneath the left hook, pivot, try to come off that pivot, copy some of the things that Gervonta Davis did by throwing that hook, by throwing a hook over the top of that jab. Because I really don't think he can do the same thing because he's not a southpaw. This is an orthodox on orthodox, right? So straight right, like maybe a big right hand over the top of that hook or after that hook. But whatever he's gonna do, man, he's gonna try his best to not really engage in that, because that's the only way that's the safest way for him to get out of there with that money and get out of there with that belt. Which, quite honestly, man, makes it a little bit more disappointing. The undercard that has been announced. Now, people the day before yesterday, were complaining about an $80 pay-per-view. I didn't say anything about an $80 pay-per-view because of the graphic that I saw it on didn't look official. So when the DAZN one came out, you saw that it said $70 on it. So it was $70, not $80. Still, steep price, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't have a problem with the $70 to buy the pay-per-view because I want to see that fight. This undercard, on the other hand, this is disappointing because there's not a single solitary fight on here that I want to see. There's not even a single solitary fighter, really, that I want to see. Where you have Conwell versus Gallimore. That's the fourth fight before that's the fifth fight before the main event. Then you have Scrappy Ramirez versus David Jimenez. I'm okay with that, but I would put that somewhere on par with seeing I wouldn't even put that on par with seeing a Keyshawn Davis fight. Versus that's like a lower level fight than in my opinion than Keyshawn Davis versus Jose Pedraza was. But that's not really into that. Then you've got a very strong fighter, Malakuviev, who is a really big puncher, Kazakhstani fighter, kind of one-dimensional guy, fighting Macomb. Again, I'm not interested in that fight at all. That fight could be on ESPN, and I probably wouldn't. I may watch it if it's on ESPN, maybe. And then you have Barboza versus Macomb. Again, I mean, Arnold Barboza's a good fighter. but not somebody that I'm really particularly amped to see. So really, the undercard is, beyond underwhelming. It's beyond underwhelming. Now you take, for example, though, the PBC card that took place last weekend, where you had in the main event, you had Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora, but before that, you had Rolly Romero and Isaac Cruz. You had Erislandy Lara and Zarafa. And God, man, who did you have before that? There was there was another fight on there of the four people on that card that I was like, okay, oh man, earlier in the day you had Carmel Moten. I was looking, even that prospect, I was looking forward to those fights. Several of those fights. Now, of course, in a lot of pay-per-views, at least before the PBC started stacking them, because the PBC was putting on fights for pay-per-views that didn't really have anybody on there. We'll say like the Luis Ortiz versus Andy Ruiz pay-per-view fights. Those pay-per-view fights really didn't have a lot of people on them. But once those dates started to narrow and towards the end of last year, the PBC started really stacking those cards. And I think you're really going to get stacked cards on the, or at least I hope you're going to continue to get stacked cards this year with the PBC. This fight right here doesn't even have a main event, really, where the main event is pay-per-view worthy. Because Devin Haney is an up-and-coming star, and Ryan Garcia is a guy that really got blown out in his first real big fight with Gervonta Davis. So the idea, number one, that this is $70, I'll pay it. I don't mind. Again, I don't mind. Personally, I don't mind the $70 because I'm not going to go pay a ridiculous amount of prices that they tried to charge for the tickets to that fight originally. Originally, that fight, the nosebleed seats in that fight was $500 or $450. Now those same tickets in those same areas are down to $190, about 16 days out from the fight. But all in all, man, it's just, that's all I can say is, man, it's just not something that is, it's not a particularly interesting fight card. And I'm going to buy it again, but I think maybe that's what they're betting on. They're betting in that, hey, man, people are going to come see the main event and they don't really care about the undercard. Also, another reason that this could be is because it's a Golden Boy card, and Golden Boy doesn't have a lot of fighters, period. They just don't have a lot of fighters. So you put, if they had the other Golden Boy fight that they could have put on here, if he was available, is maybe a Virgil Ortiz versus somebody. I know that he's got a fight date coming up, but Virgil Ortiz versus somebody, man, I'm telling you, I wish they wouldn't have got rid of Blair Cobb. I would have taken Blair Cobb on this card. No joke. I would have taken Blair Cobb and Adrian Broner behind Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, and that would have added a significant amount to the value of this fight card. But as it is, nah, man, this fight card is man, what can I say? This fight card is not good. Not good at all. And they took a long time to announce this fight card, and I think that they did it. That's a good reason, smart move, because maybe a lot of people wouldn't even have gone to see the main event if they didn't get any fights before that. But yeah, this is not good, man. And again, I know people are going to point to and say, hey, well, what about the other pay-per-view cards that sucked? Look, man, somebody else doing a bad job is not an excuse for you doing a bad job. Okay? You can point to a bunch of other people that overcharge fights. I'm not saying nobody else has had a bad fight card before and on a pay-per-view, and nobody's overcharged for a fight card, or nobody's ever overcharged for tickets. That the fact that other people have done it doesn't take away from the fact that they're doing it now. Okay? So please don't come talk to me with that very, very, very weak justification, right? Because when the other guys did it, people said something about it. Said, oh, this card's not worth it, and this card is weak. So if you can say it for the other fighters, don't get mad at people that say it about a fight that you may be interested in. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.